Southwest Utah's blend of smooth, flowy trails and big, shelfy rocks provided the perfect landscape to test a short travel 29er like the Yeti SB100. One that breaks form from tradition with an aggressive build that includes wide handlebars, wide tires fitted to wide rims, and a dropper post that comes standard on all models.
I thought this bike was like tailor-made for our short travel course.
I absolutely agreed. I was afraid it was going to be a little bit undergunned, but when I got on it, it just flew. But it felt stiff enough in the technical sections that I felt well under control. I felt like I had the nimbleness to be able to play around a little bit. It did get a little bit chattery when it would be high speed and technical for a while, but for the most part, it was a spot-on bike.
Yeah, I agree. I came into this bike with a lot of expectations. I've heard a lot about it. Everyone's been kind of talking about the new cross-country bike. I feel like it totally lived up to the hype. I felt like it was XC bike without the bitter and angry soul of a real XC bike.
It's like a more fun.
Yeah, it's like a friendly, fun, comfortable XC
Well,
racer.
they made it like, you know, there's a 34 fork on it, wider handlebars. They sort of made it, the geometry
They trailed it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty aggressive for an XC bike. They were trying to make it sort of, I mean, the whole thing with this was it wasn't going to fit into a category. And I think that's right, because I wouldn't necessarily classify it as XC.
Right. I would classify it as marathon because it's comfortable, right? And it's efficient, and it has that kind of racy feel to it, but it's not as like brutal is the word I want to use.
And it's designed with a lot of fun in mind. I mean, I really appreciated the 760 handlebars. The DHF on the front is really nice for me to see on a bike that I would think would have something a little bit more
like
cross-country
a beefier tire
racer.
and a little wider wheel. So, yeah, it's meant to get a little rowdier than an XC bike, I would say.
Yeah.
The lightweight cross-country nature of the SB100 blends with the responsive Switch Infinity suspension to create a bike that shines uphill. On our test course, we were able to put it through the paces on both extended climbs and ledgy rock ascents to see how it performed on each.
One of the things I really liked about this bike was the course we tested it on was, I mean, there were some technical climbing moves, some ledgy rocks, and I felt like some of the other 29ers, albeit with some more travel, it was I found a little harder to get up and over some of the techier sections. I really felt this bike, and this—
Wait, on this bike or on the other bikes?
On the other bikes. I felt like this bike was really easy to maneuver, and it's 25 pounds. I mean, it is a light bike, and I really felt that, you know, when in some of the more technical climbing sections.
Which is an important thing when you're smaller and you've got less mass to throw around. It's nice to have a bike that's a little less heavy.
Yeah, and I found that as well, especially one of the unique features of the trail that we were riding is that it had a lot of, they weren't just ledgy uphills, but they were stacked ledges.
Right,
so
it was
you
like
would have
repetitive
to
ledges.
over and over again. And that's where I felt like the stiffness of this bike, that aggressive setup, and again, having those more aggressive treads on the tires really helped to pay off, where you could just keep pedaling and have the confidence that this bike was going to get you up and over. You know, and I feel like the 29er
wheels, yeah.
That's what I was thinking as well. The 29er wheels certainly help out in that situation. And I kept thinking about what other bikes is this bike like? And my personal bike at home is a Juliana Joplin, which is very similar in a lot of ways. And being able to ride those two back to back, I found that bike can be a little bit more capable when I'm going fast in technical stuff. But this bike, I mean, you can't get around how light it is and how maneuverable that makes it.
So the one place where I felt like this bike had a bit of a shortcoming was on sort of steep, tight corners that had loose rock on them. I felt like the 67.8 degree head tube was a little steep, and it almost felt like it was going to pitch me forward. I felt less confident on those than I usually do.
So I think there's no doubt that this is a really awesome bike. Of course, the biggest question is who is it the best bike for? Right. What type of rider is this designed for?
I mean, I think this is perfect for like the BC Bike Race, Breck Epic, or just like, you know, maybe like a multi-day trip. I feel like you could ride back to back and be really comfortable, cover a lot of ground because of the 29er wheels. And
yeah, it's saving you energy at every turn. I felt like the more tired I got on this bike, the better it felt, like it was taking care of me. because I was riding it at the end of the day, and I feel like the lazier I got on it, the better I was, which is a great thing, especially when you're either racing or doing lots of back-to-back days. It's nice to have that.
Right.
But it's expensive.
It's an $8,000 bike.
I mean, the one we tested was $8,000, and it was the XO1 race, so it'd be really nice parts.
Really
I
nice build.
personally would probably go with the non-race, which is has an XT brake instead of a level brake. I think the cheapest you can get into an SB100 is $5,000 as a complete build. So I mean, it's going to cost you.
It's a commitment.
But when has Yeti not cost you? You know,
Right. Which means it is a fantastic bike for any aggressive XC-loving optometrist out there.
With a solid spec and geometry designed to let riders push the boundaries of all-day adventures, the Yeti SB100 has proven to be one of the most versatile short travel bikes available. To read the full review and see how this bike stacks up against the rest of the field, check out bikemag.com.